Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. This, of course, is the show where we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. So when you talk to your buddies about movies, because you watch this show, you're going to look like you know more than they do. I'm joined, of course, in studio by the man who often knows more than they do, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett over in the Observatory. Rob, how you doing today, sir?
Well, that's a very high compliment. Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Good to have you here. 2 days till Christmas.
Amazing.
2 days till Christmas, and we hope you guys are all having a wonderful season. And here's how our show's going to go today. We're going to start off by talking about a couple of predetermined topics we got lined up. Then in the second part of the show is when we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you're watching this show live, and you have to be watching live as we're doing the stream, and you have a thought, theory, opinion, or a question you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link, or not our tip link, fire it on into our super chats that's in the live chat. And as long as it's appropriate to be addressed on the show, we'll address it in the second part of the show. All right, guys. That all down. Let's not waste any time and get right into it, shall we? And we're going to start with this. A movie I've been really looking forward to ever since CinemaCon, which is where I think we first found out it was even coming out, was Anaconda. You know, at first, I was like, do we really need an Anaconda remake? And then we saw the trailers and we realized, oh, it's not a remake. It's like these guys who love the original movie and they want to do their own version of it. Beautiful idea. Loved the sound of it. Sounded fantastic.
Yes, it did.
So I was like, okay, I want to watch this. This looks and sounds great. And so like, I'm down for it. Then the trailers have come up. By the way, Kevin Irving sending in 10 gift memberships to people. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. I decided I can't wait to see this. I want to go see it. This is going to be great. Well, it comes out tomorrow and the reviews have dropped today and they're not good.
Damn it.
They're not good. Right now, as of this moment, it's 33 reviews have come in and it's sitting at 30%. Now, I've not even looked at these. So let's go over and take a look at some of these reviews that have come out, shall we, about the movie. And let's start off with Anthony O'Connor from Film Inc. liked it, I guess, said, like an improv class on various jungle sets. Okay. Zach Pope reviews didn't like it, saying Anaconda wants to be Tropic Thunder with its meta commentary on filmmaking. And while it occasionally succeeds with some laughs, I never found the film to actually go all out with its concepts. It's funny he mentions that because I did get that vibe. I got the vibe that it was very much influenced by Tropic Thunder, which also had Jack Black in it. Jeremy Johns didn't like, says the epitome of, and I'm not going to remember the movie. Mike Massey with Gone with the Twins didn't like it. Said it's one of the most ineffective and dishonest horror comedy hybrids in recent memory. Slash Film did like it. They said, while Anaconda might not be quite as clever as other show business comedies of its ilk, it taps into a kind of comedy that has largely died out. Our friend Dan Murrow liked it, said it succeeds at what it wants to be, which is a dumb, silly, fun comedy. Richard Corse liked it, said Anaconda is a silly but amiable and enjoyable story of following your dreams that lovingly pokes fun at the original 1997 movie while simultaneously celebrating its cheeseball charm. DNR didn't like it, said a self-aware remake that knows its jokes but never sharpens them. Jack Black and Paul Rudd can't rescue thin characters, flat satire, or toothless horror. A clever idea strangled by caution and predictability. John Kirk liked it, said Anaconda is a laugh and a half, though there's also a meta level of appreciation that must be embraced for the gag to work. Make sure you stay for the credits, as it's a film that clearly doesn't want the jokes to end. Screen Rant did not like it. They said funny and surprisingly sweet, yet ultimately as boneless as a snake. Anaconda aims to be Bowfinger. Oh, I loved Bowfinger. Aims to be Bowfinger for a new generation, but it ends up feeling as insipid as the film it's loosely based on. So again, 30%, Rob. I mean, I've read worse. Some people seem to find it funny. Others are not seeming to find it so funny. Look, I'm planning to go to see this tomorrow night. I'm going to go Christmas Eve to go see it. I'm going to still go in with hopes high, but yeah, this isn't sounding too great. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about what we're hearing, and what have your expectations been?
Well, look, man, I love movies about movie making. The Stuntman is one of my favorite movies of all time. Even Sunset Boulevard to a certain extent is about film writing. Blake Edwards' SOB. So I was looking at this trailer and I was really excited because, I don't know why people think it fell out of I love Tropic Thunder. I love
Oh yeah, that movie's great.
And there is that Jack Black connection. Tropic Thunder is such a great movie about movie making. And this had that vibe to me. And I don't care, like you, I'm going to see it. I mean, and if it will look like a dumb, stupid comedy from the trailers. And if there's one thing, John, I can get behind, it's more dumb, stupid, theatrically released comedies, because our world has been diminished by the lack of them. And if only for the cast, I have to believe that there's some joy to be had here. I have to believe that. I'm gonna go.
I agree. Like both Jack Black and Paul Rudd, to me, are two actors and performers that I've always found that even if they're in something that the material doesn't quite measure up, they find ways to elevate it and make it funny. You know
100%.
What a good example of that is? Do you remember that comedy Paul Rudd did with Steve Carell? And Zach Galifianakis was in it as well. Something about, it wasn't called The Idiot, or somebody in the live chat's got to know what movie it is I'm talking about. Like it's not The Idiot or whatever, or I'm with, it's not Due Date either. Dinner for Schmucks.
Oh,
that was it. Spicy is the one who remembered it first and fired it on. Dinner for Schmucks. Okay. Not the best comedy. Not the best comedy. Although that one moment that's become iconic when Zach Galifianakis is laughing at something and he's trying to make it look like he's not laughing. Like that's one of the greatest moments ever in comedy. Anyway, but Paul Rudd found a way to elevate the material. Steve Carell's another guy who does that as well. So I get it. I'm hearing people aren't loving this movie, and that's okay. But as long as these two are in it, I will go in giving it the benefit of the doubt and just believing they're going to find a way to make me laugh.
Right.
Because that's what Jack Black does, right? He finds a way to make you laugh. And so I'm just going to kind of go in and trust in that. But I'm not going to lie. I was kind of hoping to see like a 75 or an 80 on there. So we'll find out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The reviews for Anaconda are coming out, and they are not kind. They're not the worst, but they're not very good. Have you been planning on seeing it? I'm still gonna go. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Rob, as we said earlier, it's Christmas week. That means the year's coming to an end.
Yeah.
And it's about time for us to start putting out some lists. That includes our favorite films of the year, our most anticipated of 2026. We're going to have to do that list in a day or two. But I thought we'd start off today on the lower end of the scale. Because while there's been a lot of great film this year, there's been some really bad film. And I sometimes find it's harder to get the 5 or 10. This year, I'm going to do 5. The 5 films that I thought were the absolute worst. Now, I should give some caveats before I give my list here, Rob. 1, it has to have been a theatrical film. It has to have been a film that had a modestly wide release. I mean, I'm sure we could find 1,000 little indie films that never played anywhere and it was worse. Like, I'm sure we could find that. But we're talking about like actual fully released films and all that kind of stuff. So I have 5 films that I'm going to list off here, Rob, with 1 dishonorable mention in it. that I'm going to list off, and these are in no particular order, folks. Okay. Just so you know, in no particular order. Okay. So let's go over the 5 films that I found to be the worst films of the year. I'm going to start off with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. My God, this movie is awful. It's just terrible. I wasn't a big fan of the first one either, to be honest with you, but I was really excited about it. Like for 2 years, when we knew the first Five Nights at Freddy was coming, I was super excited about it. I couldn't believe it. And then it came out, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed by it. But I really thought that the second one was going to redeem it. And I went in with, high hopes that, no, it is seriously one of the most terrible movies of the year. It's just bloody awful on every single level. It's just a terrible, terrible film. So Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is on my worst films of the year list. All right. The next one on my list, Him. Oh my God. I cannot believe Jordan Peele allowed his name to get attached to this movie. And for those people who are still confused by this, this is not a Jordan Peele film. Jordan Peele did not direct this film. He did not write this film. I don't know why he put his name on it. This was a movie that was trying to be, Rob, it's hard for me to say. Like when you looked at the trailers, it looked like it was trying to be some high concept, psycho thriller with like some supernatural element to it and like wild characters. It's just terrible. And it made no sense as it was going along. And then they do these reveals and you're like, that made no sense. And I remember I came out of the theater because I first saw it on its opening night at a movie meetup. I think it was where was it? Might've been in Albuquerque. Anyway, I was at a movie meetup and we all came out of the theater. And the first thing I said to the audience was, I am so sorry. This is the movie we had to watch tonight. It was just absolutely brutal. So terrible. Hated this movie. So, it's, Him is the second film on my list. Remember, these are in no particular order. The third film on my worst films of the year list, another one that I saw at a movie meetup, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Now, look, I'm not going to, lie here. I haven't really enjoyed either of the Now You See Me films, to be honest. Conceptually, it's good. There's a lot of people in them that I like a lot. But I can't believe they even made this third one. But listen, make no mistake, the third one actually made some money. This movie, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, it actually made some money. So get ready to see a fourth one, which is a shame because it's going to dumb down the population even more. This is a movie that, again, just every single scene, every single beat decided to say, now, what's the logical thing to do? And let's do the opposite. And by the end of it, I was just, I couldn't eye roll any harder. It's just a terrible movie. And so Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The third film on my list of the worst movies of the year. All right. Number 4. And when I originally saw this movie, I didn't like it, but I didn't think I'd put it on this list. And then I thought I'd give it another chance and it dropped even more in my estimation. The Amateur.
Wow.
This was a movie that should have been great. It has a great cast. The concept is not a new one, but it's a tried and true one. A husband, either husband or father who has unjustly lost their wife or daughter, put whatever in, out for vengeance. It is a tried and true formula with some fantastic people in it. It should have been fantastic. And it was terrible. I mean, besides Lawrence Fishburne and Rami Malek, you also had John Bernthal in there. And it's just, you had so many great people and it just ended up being completely awful. So I ended up I wasn't originally going to, but I did end up putting The Amateur on my list. All right. The last one on my list of my 5 worst movies of the year had to include Megan 2.0. And unlike Five Nights at Freddy's and Now You See Me, where I didn't really love the original ones of those, I really liked the first Megan. I had a
Sure.
ball with the first Megan. I thought it was fun. It always had its tongue firmly planted in cheek. It was just a really fun time. It was and so when they announced that they were doing the second one, I was very enthusiastic for it. They showed that they were going to up the action for it. All that's good. And, I don't need to relitigate it. We reviewed the film on the channel, so I don't need to go into it all again. You all saw it. It's a dumpster fire. It's a completely worthless piece of garbage, which is really too bad because I really did like the first one. I really did. And this one just rusted out. It just completely rusted out. So again, the films on my list are Megan 2.0, The Amateur, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Him, and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Those are my worst films of the year, Rob. I now put over the microphone into your hand. What were your least favorite films of this year?
Okay. Now, I haven't seen, obviously, all the movies that came out in 2025, but I have to say that my movies are the most disappointing to me. Movies that I was really looking forward to that just disappointed me. Because if I know movies, like I'm not going to go see Five Nights at Freddy's in the theater because I know it's going to be bad and I know it pissed me off. But these are movies that I went to and I was excited. Number 5, Captain America: Brave New World. I was really disappointed by Captain America: Brave New World.
I came close to putting that on my list. I came close, but I
love
found
Anthony
too many
Mackie.
redeeming qualities.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm like, how do you, to me, the whole premise was wrong-headed. You leaned into the Incredible Hulk when really what you should have leaned into was Sam Wilson has a great journey to fulfill, which is trying to live up to Captain
The standards
America.
of Captain America.
The standards of Captain America. How do you end this film at every turn? And plus, we're going to go to war with Japan, like because the Soviet Union and Russia and China don't exist in the MCU. So let's make Japan villainous or something. I was annoyed by that. Another movie, which I don't know if it would fit your category, but I was really looking forward to it because I love the book it was based on. The Russo brothers, The Electric State. In The Electric State, it's a picture book, and the robots don't talk. And $320 million, I love robots. I love the picture book. I'm like, this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen. And at $300+ million, no. It went in the exact other direction of the kind of movie I thought it was going to be. I should have known by how much it cost, but it was terrible, and I was really disappointed. I mean, here's the thing: it wasn't terrible the way bad movies are terrible, the way Plan 9 from Outer Space is terrible, but it was just all these choices were perplexing to me, and you didn't fulfill the promise of what it should be. Now, here's a movie I actually did see in a theater. I don't even know if it was officially released in the theaters, but I saw it in the theater. Hurry Up Tomorrow, the Weeknd's movie.
The Weeknd one.
Bro.
That's one it was between that and The Amateur. And you're now already convincing me I should have put that one on there, which was really, because I love The Weeknd and I love Jenna Ortega, but wow, that was a self-indulgent, desperate, it was terrible. It was just so bad.
And now, number 3, Snow White. Now, I was willing to give it a pass. I'm like, yes, I wanted this movie to be good because I have quite enjoyed the live action films that have come, beginning with Cinderella. There's been a lot of these live action remakes that I've actually enjoyed. Snow White was not one of them. And it seemed to me that it was, of all the movies that were compromised by people talk about various initiatives, how do you make a movie? It seemed to me, those early photographs when they showed that motley band of characters that weren't necessarily dwarves. That were, I'm sure that's how the movie originally went. And then they reshot it and they put CG dwarf. I'm like, one of my favorite fantasy films from the 80s is Time Bandits. And in Time Bandits, they had a merry bunch of people, little people, that played the Time Bandits. And they were great. And it was like, How do you not hire all of them to play the seven
Now,
dwarves?
you know, here's the funny thing. You and I are on the same side in the sense that Snow White wasn't good. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't like Snow White either. But I will stand by and defend their choice to make the dwarves CGI because you can't do like my belief is you can't do the dwarves with
I
actors in
understand.
costumes. You know
I
that so
totally
I hated the movie, but I thought that wasn't the wrong choice. I actually thought they made the right choice for that if they wanted to be more accurate to the original animation.
Yeah, I just thought that, I just like actors. And in Time Bandits, those actors were great in those roles.
Sure, but they were
And
original characters that weren't trying to match up to something else that we've known for
that's
generations.
true. That's true. I was hoping Snow White, I was hoping it would surprise me and be good. A movie I went and saw this week, Ella McKay. Did you James L. Brooks's new movie?
I
The
didn't even know
James
it
L.
came out yet. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
the preview at CinemaCon looked promising, but so I didn't even hear that it came out. It was
Dude.
bad? Oh, that's too bad.
It was
That's a
all, I mean,
shame.
one of our great, one of our legendary filmmakers. And it starred the lead actress who looks just like Margot Robbie from why am I drawing a blank on her name? From Sex Education, the great series from Netflix. If you've watched that, she was great. I mean, she wasn't bad in the movie. The movie was just all over the place. I'm like, what year are we living in when I'm watching, when I'm thinking about this? And I'm like, it's James L. Brooks. I was like, could this be great? But it's like, this guy, no, this movie never should have been greenlit. But the number one movie, my very worst movie of the year that I actually was bamboozled into being excited about. John, when I was a little kid, when I was 5 years old, my first favorite movie of all time was Byron Haskins' 1953 War of the Worlds. It is
Now,
still, to this
now
day.
I didn't put that in the list originally because it was not a theatrical film. But
I
please
know.
continue because I was going to get to my sixth dishonorable mention, and that was indeed going to be War of the Worlds. But you have stole my thunder. But please continue.
The first half of Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds is amazing. When the Martians or the aliens finally show up, and the original War of the Worlds, I like the War of the Worlds TV series that Paramount made in the late 80s, early 90s. I love War of the Worlds. I love the War of the Worlds concept album. I am a War of the Worlds freak. It takes a lot for me to not like something with the War of the Worlds brand on it or name on it or whatever. But this weird, like searching all on screens, Ice Cube playing a data analyst or whatever the hell he was playing. I watched it in stunned disbelief. Am I watching an Amazon ad? Am I watching something? Did anybody read H.G. Wells' novel before they made this? This clearly not. I wanted, you know what? It was the first movie, maybe the only movie in 2005 or 2025 that made me want to like go out and buy a bow and arrow and shoot it through my OLED just to like make sure that I can't have something that has been sullied by this movie. I can't continue to watch on the screen. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed because I love my TV, but it was awful. And I don't understand why editing a movie, making a movie like that. How do you not just abandon something? I mean, I have worked on movies that we made from going unwatchable to being really mediocre. This film should have just been buried. All the digital files should have been erased. And I'm sorry. It was awful. And it was so disappointing. And it sullied the name War of the Worlds forever.
Well, I mean, it was a prolonged Amazon commercial that was going on Amazon. Now, once again, the reason I didn't have my list and the reason I saved it for a dishonorable mention was because my criteria was it had to be in theaters.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk about. So or else I would have mentioned it even higher on the list. But yeah, man, I watched that. I'm like, the whole time I was just befuddled. I'm like, how do you make this? How do you not get even 5 days into shooting and looking at the dailies and saying, there's got to be something else we can be doing that's better for our time? It was truly a wreck. It was truly, truly a wreck. And the only thing that, because I saw somebody say this in the comment section, but I'll bring it up here. The only thing that I think would have been worse than it is if they had released that Batgirl movie. That might have taken the top spot. But other than that, I'll give it to War of the Worlds. It was a truly horrendous piece of trash.
And it really made me angry.
All right, guys. Question is for you. Do you have some thoughts on your least favorite movies of the year? If you've got a list of them, drop them in the comments section below. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the things that people are pretty excited about, at least got excited about a little while ago, was the fact that Avatar, The Last Airbender, was coming back and going to get a new movie that would actually be a continuation of the original series. It was going to be The Legend of Aang. So it was going to take all the original characters from the original show, and now Aang, just a few years later, like Aang's a little bit older, all the characters are a little bit older, and all that kind of stuff. Great, right? Well, Paramount Studios, who has recently been banging on the drum of, hey, when we get Warner Brothers, we're going to be putting out like 30 films a year into movie theaters. We're going to be the movie theater studio, everybody. We're the studio that's pro movie theaters. Oh, by the way, that Avatar movie, yeah, we're pulling it out of theaters now. As Variety is reporting that The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender movie, is now not going to be going to theaters as they originally promised and said it would. Instead, they're going to dump it on Paramount Plus, is where they're going to put it. Variety writes the following. Paramount's fantasy film, Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, won't play in movie theaters as intended, but will instead debut directly on Paramount Plus streaming service. The cinematic continuation of the popular TV series, previously slated for theatrical release on October 9th, will land on the streamer sometime in the fall. Meanwhile, a new animated television show, Avatar 7 Havens, is set for Paramount Plus as the company charts a new future for the Earthbending franchise that's solely on streaming. 4 seasons of The Legend of Korra that I tried to get into and I just never could. Anyway, the 2010 film Avatar The Last Airbender, as well as the original Nickelodeon show, are already on Paramount Plus. Now, this leaves them a little bit short because it goes on to say this for 2026. Without The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, on its schedule, Paramount has a nearly barren theatrical slate in 2026 that seems void of any heavy hitters. Primate is set for January, with Scream 7 to follow in February, Scary Movie 6 in June, Paw Patrol, the Dino movie in August, and Street Fighter in October, and Angry Birds 3 in December. I defy anybody to find a studio that's got a more pathetic release schedule coming up in 2026. I'm not saying I hate the sound of all the movies on that list. I'm not saying that, but it's like, seriously, point me to another studio that's got a worse lineup for 2026. A 2026 that looks like it's got a lot of big bangers lined up. And the one thing they kind of had going for them was this Last Airbender thing that they got everybody excited about, was going to be, you know, this big theatrical event, the return of Aang, all that kind of stuff. And instead, they're now pulling it and dropping it on Paramount Plus. And, you know, I just got to say this now. You know, when the Ellisons took over Paramount, I had a lot of enthusiasm and I had a lot of optimism because, you know, David Ellison came in with a lot of, they were all just words, but still they were the right words about a vision that he has, the types of movies they wanted to pursue, all that kind of stuff. I was very pro about it. And even when they made their pitch to buy Warner Brothers, I was like, well, I don't want Warner Brothers to sell, but I'm not against the idea of Paramount getting it. But I'll tell you what, Rob, more and more and more, as every day that passes, things happen over there and things get said and things get done where I'm like, these fuckers have no idea what the fuck they're doing. This studio is being run by a clown show. I mean, don't even get me started about, how they pulled a 60-minute story last night at the last second, which, we won't go into here. That didn't help my perception of this now slowly sinking company. But like, you made these big grandiose promises, right? About like your commitment to theatrical. And this is like, out of all your 2026 things, Scream might be good. It might be bad. Street Fighter might be cute, or it might be the disaster I'm thinking that it looks like. There's a few things that could work on there, but you had this Last Airbender thing, something that everybody who knows it is enthusiastic about, the returning to the original characters, the original series. And then with just like 9 months to go, you go, oh yeah, no. We're pulling that out of theaters now. Now we're going to just put that straight to Disney Plus. And I am more and more day by day transitioning from somebody who had really been cheering for Paramount and really been enthusiastic and optimistic about what a new Paramount under Skydance and under David Ellison could be like, to they are just talking me out of it every day, Rob. Every day. This is a stupid decision. This was a movie that really could have gotten some traction. And if your idea is to get more attention on your streaming offerings, then get the other Airbender stuff on streaming and let Aang hit theaters and point the way over to Disney, over to Paramount Plus. Like, I just don't understand it. And now, like, listen, you stood on this platform, we're going to put things in theaters, oh, blah, blah, blah. Why the fuck should we believe anything you say now about what your goals and direction are for this studio, when you haven't even been in there long enough for your fucking coffee to get cold and you're already pulling films out of theaters? Fuck you. I mean, it's just, I cannot believe that I was naive enough for any period of time to believe David Ellison and the people over there are anything but a bunch of nitwit, shit for brains clowns. And it's just more and more every day we're seeing more that goes to that. And fuck them. I have no faith in Paramount anymore. They can fucking burn to the ground as far as I'm concerned. Wow, John, you really cared a lot about this Aang movie. It's not just the Aang movie. It's like I went on my show on camera to say, hey, this David Ellison thing with Paramount, this is going to be a winner. This is going to be really good. And every single day, I feel like he doesn't know who I am by any stretch, but I feel like David Ellison wakes up every day who goes, how can we make Campea look like he was really wrong to have any faith in us? And that is their mission now, to make me look dumb, which I do a good enough job of on my own. But their mission is now to make me look dumb for having faith in them in the first place. And Rob, I got to tell you, after the last couple of weeks, my last drop of goodwill for Paramount is gone. It's gone. This is now the last place, bottom of the barrel studio. I have no faith that they're going to be able to turn this thing around anymore. Anyway, so screw them. Paramount sucks and they're going to die. Anyway, Rob, and I don't even care all that much about the Aang project. It's just one thing after another, Rob. Anyway, you saw this. They're pulling the thing out of theaters. They're going to put it onto Paramount Plus. What's your takeaway from this?
Well, a little different than yours. I think looking at the people involved, it has 3 directors and it has 3 writers. And director Steve Ahn has worked on TV shows like Star Trek Prodigy, animated show. He directed an episode of The Boys animated show. But the other 2 directors, they're like Lauren Montgomery's a storyboard artist and William Mata. They're not exactly top flight animation directors. They were TV animation directors at best. Age of Ultron or Voltron or whatever. And I would imagine that the final film, just even though it's Taika Waititi does a voice and Dave, Batista does a voice and Heikyu Kwan does a voice. I just think it probably wasn't up to theatrical standards. And they looked at it and they said, we can't throw the kind of marketing budget a big animation project would get behind this film because it just isn't theatrical quality. I mean, I have to believe that they just made that assessment. And I could see that happening because the directors are all TV directors. And they probably or TV storyboard artists. So they probably just didn't make a film of theatrical caliber. That's my takeaway after looking at who made the movie. And there's no shame in that. They're TV directors. And I don't think you want to give TV animation directors a first shot at a theatrical feature making something that could be potentially this important to a franchise. So that's what I think probably happened.
I mean, they're saying it's a part of their, strategy for, but I mean, look, my take on it is
Have making better movies.
one of the advantages of having animation is you have a clearer picture of what it's going to be. Like you've shot a lot of live action stuff, Rob. And it takes a little while for you to get a real sense, like regardless of the script and regardless of the storyboards and what's in your head, it takes you a little while to really start getting a sense of what this thing is turning out to be as you're shooting it and all that kind of stuff. With animation, you get that, you're able to get a picture of that, not even a little sooner, probably a lot sooner.
Well, you should, theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically you should. So like why, if, and they're not saying that the issue is that the movie isn't up to snuff, but if that's the issue, then why not make changes? It's not like you have to rebook locations. It's not like you have to hire another local crew. It's not like you have to free up the schedules of your talent again. If you really think there's a problem with it, why not correct it to at least to the point where maybe it's not a 10 out of 10 movie, but it's not as egregious as you think. Again, nobody is saying officially that the movie's bad. We're just saying if it was that, do something to correct it.
Well, and you have the writer, Michael Dante DiMartino was one of the original writers on both shows. So you had him, and there's 3 writers, but the other writer obviously worked on Last Airbender and was in the animation department of Legend of Korra. So maybe it was a case that the script was not, it just didn't work out for some reason. Of course, then you had one of the writers was on Star Trek Discovery and Starfleet Academy. I'm not saying that has anything to do with it, because I haven't seen Starfleet Academy, but maybe it just didn't all work out the way it was supposed to.
You're
right. I mean, maybe they just decided, look, we could go back and spend the money and try and fix this, but we're not going to. We're just going to put it on streaming, which is at least it made it to streaming. It could have been not a good, I don't know. I haven't seen it, and I don't want to disparage people's work that I haven't seen. I'll disparage people's work I have seen, but I haven't seen the work, so I can't make an assessment. But
it's one of our viewers is raising an interesting point. They said they probably looked how bad SpongeBob did and didn't want to go through that again. Like, yeah, SpongeBob. I mean, but again,
that could be. That's a wise comment.
But I don't know that you can equate SpongeBob to Avatar: The Last Airbender, or think it's the same demographic that's beside. Because again, he's right. SpongeBob flopped. And flopped pretty hard when you look at the production budget and the marketing budget and what it's going to need to make to be profitable, and had a $16 million opening weekend. That's not great. It'll be interesting to see how big the international numbers are. But I mean, I don't know that you can draw a comparison. Like, I don't think you can say that the audience for SpongeBob is the audience for Avatar: The Last Airbender. But still, I mean, that could be something there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? That Aang, the Last Airbender movie that we were getting, that a lot of people were quite excited about, the original writer of the original series and all that kind of stuff, that was going to come theatrically. It's being pulled and dumped onto Paramount Plus. Surprised? Not surprised? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? And we're going to stick in that delightful playground known as Paramount. You guys know, of course, that Netflix ended up winning the bidding war, if you will, for Warner Brothers. They won the fight. They got it. But Paramount, and you got to admire the tenacity, is like, wait a minute. We're not done. We're going to try to improve our offer. We're going to try to, still win this war. We're still going to try to get it. Well, they were rejected again because, as Warner Brothers put it, you guys don't have enough financial backing here and you don't have enough financial guarantees. Like, you're offering all this money, but like even Larry Ellison is not willing to sign a personal guarantee for $40 billion on it. Well, they heard that and said, okay. And now, according to financial reports here, Paramount's new offer for Warner Brothers is still not sufficient, says the investors. So here's what basically happened. Paramount came back again and said, we've improved our offer. Still the same amount of money, still for $30 a share, or right around there. But now Larry Ellison says, okay, fine, you win. I'll sign a personal guarantee for the money, for $40 billion at least of the money, to give the offer more solid backing. Well, according to one of the major investors at Warner Brothers, they're still saying that's not enough. This is the report out of Yahoo Financial. It says this, Paramount Skydance's latest offer to buy Warner Brothers Discovery is still not good enough for prominent shareholder Harris Oakmark, the investor told Reuters on Monday. Warner Brothers' fifth largest shareholder, owning 96 million shares, or about 4% of the shares as of the end of September, said it would hold out for more from the Ellison family-controlled Paramount. The changes in Paramount's new offer were necessary, but not sufficient, Harris Oakmark portfolio manager and director of U.S. research Alex Fitch said in an email to Reuters. We see the two deals as a toss-up, and there is a cost to changing paths. If Paramount is serious about winning, they're going to need to provide greater incentive. All right, now look. One of the big things here, like some people look at it and say, wait a minute. Paramount is offering more money than Warner Brothers. Why aren't they taking the more money? And there are two answers to that. Answer number one is, it can be very expensive for you to enter into a year-long process only to have that process fall apart. And if you don't believe that the other side can actually come through on their part of the bargain, you could be left holding a very expensive bag. And right now, the board and the shareholders at Warner Brothers just believe that Netflix is a much more solid foundation to be able to follow through on everything than Paramount is right now. So that's the one thing. But the second thing is this, and this is the part that I'm still amazed how many people don't understand this. Paramount is offering more money, yes, but they're offering more money for the totality of Warner Brothers, which includes their Discovery Global Television thing that they're getting ready to spin off. Netflix's offer is just for the studios and HBO Max, which means the shareholders of Warner Brothers are still going to own that Discovery Global spin-off company and the added value that they have. In other words, the Warner Brothers board and shareholders believe that Netflix's offer for Warner Brothers and HBO Max, plus the value of their spinning off Discovery Global television arm, collectively is worth more money than what Paramount is offering to buy the thing as a whole. It's like this. Let's say you and your son have a bicycle, both have bicycles, and I come in and I offer you, $50 for both bicycles. But your neighbor comes in and offers $48 just for your bike, and you still own your kid's bike, which you can then go to sell somebody else for 10, 15, 20 bucks. Yes, my offer of $50 is higher than your neighbor's offer of 48, but you're actually going to make more money and be more ahead if you go with the neighbor's offer of 48 and then sell your kid's bike separately for another 5, 10 bucks. That's kind of what's going on here, at least how they see it. Whether they're right or not is another question. But that's kind of what's going on here with Warner Brothers Discovery. So it's kind of interesting to hear Rob, even one of the big shareholders over at Warner Brothers, already saying, like, without the board even coming to them, like the fifth largest shareholder of the entire company saying, yeah, like good, they needed to have Larry Ellison sign that $40 billion guarantee, but it's not enough for us to break with the deal that we have. We still think we're getting a better deal with Netflix. And right now Netflix is sitting there going, because remember when Disney was going to buy Fox and all of a sudden Universal got involved, they had to go back and forth 6 or 7 times, continuously raising their offers. Right now, Netflix is sitting back there going, they're still saying no to Paramount. We haven't had to raise our offer yet. This is great. So like, even if Paramount does come in with a higher offer, then that gives Netflix the option. Remember, they're locked in with Netflix right now. So Netflix gets the opportunity to match or exceed. So this thing isn't over yet, Rob. It's not over, but it just doesn't sound, and we could be wrong here, but it doesn't sound like Paramount's going to be able to get this across the finish line unless something significant happens to change it. Anyway, what do you see as being the major hurdles to Paramount getting this thing done? And what do you think about the prominent Warner Brothers shareholder saying it's just not enough right now?
Well, I mean, if you were just going to go by money, I could see that that maybe Paramount has more of a chance. But I think it really comes down to, what does Paramount want to do with Warner Brothers? And I think that in the long run, what Netflix is, look, Paramount has, obviously, they've proven they have a political reason in addition to capitalistic reasons for wanting to control a media empire. And I think, whereas Netflix, they don't care about any of that. They want to make content, they want to make programming, they want to make great entertainment. That's what they do. You know, they don't, they're reluctant to get into theatrical, but they will, because they don't have to do anything. They're acquiring a company that can be, I mean, what Netflix wants to do is have a machine that is going to feed them A-list quality entertainment that they can put on their streaming service. So what they have is an engine that's going to create television content and theatrical movies that are going to go onto their platform and make sure that they are the most robust streaming service in the world. And they're going to get first-run movies and first-run TV shows, HBO quality shows made by people that know how to make them. They don't have to hire a bunch of people. They don't have to fire a bunch of people. They're buying an engine. They're buying a very, very fast engine, an engine that has 100 years of experience behind it, an engine that also has 100 years of catalog titles behind it. So they're not interested in controlling all the media and being politically active. They just want to be entertainers. Whereas Paramount is clearly, they're already playing political games. And I think that's something that shareholders are like, look, do you want to make entertainment make us money? Or do you have other purposes? And I think that just from a standpoint that Warner Brothers is an entertainment company, Netflix is an entertainment company, it seems like a match made in heaven if Ted Sarandos is truthful about what he wants to do. If he acquires Warner Brothers and in a year in says, nope, we're going back to a 15-day theatrical model and whatever, he's going to piss off a lot of people. But right now, there's a lot of people at Warner Brothers that really want to see this deal happen now, because if it's inevitable, Netflix, I think, is going to make sure that people who care about movies and television shows and great entertainment, I think Netflix is the best route to go down. Whereas Paramount, again, might not be.
And listen, I know we've said this before. We just talked about Paramount's upcoming slate for 2026, which is straight up pathetic. It's just straight up pathetic.
Yeah. And Warner Brothers has some bangers.
You know, Skydance just got Paramount. And at the risk of repeating what we've said many times over the last couple of months, why not, considering you've got the biggest laughing stock of a release schedule in 2026, why not spend your time really building up Paramount? Instead of running with your dick flapping out of your, tighty whities, why not take a look right at home? We've got Paramount now. Let's put everything we've got into building up Paramount to its place of prominence, to being one of the most prominent things out there in the business. Let's really make this great, because right now you're not doing such a good job. And I it feels weird to say, I just got a lot more. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I got a lot more faith in Netflix to be able to make something special happen with Warner Brothers than I do with Paramount right now. But I mean, that's the world we live in at the moment, which is rather weird. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Paramount has sweetened their offer a little bit, although not by the dollar value, but they're putting guarantees now in place. But some shareholders for Warner Brothers are saying this is still not good enough. This is not enough for what we're trying to do. Do you think they can get there? Do you think Netflix will just outmatch whatever they offer anyway? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's go on to this, shall we? Hey, Rob, I don't know if you saw, but
what's that, John?
Steve Rogers Avengers Doomsday trailer, they finally put it in all of its full HD glory online to underwhelm everybody else, just like the way it underwhelmed me.
Still makes me cry. Just saying.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm excited for Steve being back. I am. Well, we already knew that there was a Thor version of the trailer coming. Well, yes. Guess what? Not surprising anybody. That Thor trailer is now leaked. And the Thor trailer is out there. And it's got, this is from Reddit. Reddit gives a bunch of imagery from it. There's, of course, Thor with Love, his Gore's daughter that he adopted. And, you know, in the trailer, you've seen these reports written all over the place. In the trailer, we hear Thor basically praying to Odin. And the basic gist of it is, I've always been to war. I've fought every fight, but give me the strength to come home to my girl. Give me the strength to come home to love and to be there for her. And it really frames Thor as a father, something we've never really seen before. And then it brings up just the way the Steve Rogers one ends with, you know, Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday. It then brings up the Thor Odin's son will return in Avengers Doomsday. And there it is. And you know, Rob, I gotta say, it is very much in tone with the Steve Rogers one.
Right.
But this at least gave me a little bit of a picture. Again, listen, I'm still basically underwhelmed by these things. Okay, Captain America's come back, great. Thor's come back, great. Unlike the Steve Rogers one, we're not surprised that he has a daughter. We know from the end of Thor Ragnarok or Thor Love and Thunder that he has a daughter. Now, I'm still a little bit underwhelmed for it, but at least this one felt like it had a little bit more soul to it. And again, now that we've seen these first two teasers, both of them kind of center on children. We got Steve Rogers' child, we got Thor's child, so maybe it's pointing towards something, maybe it's not. But anyway, an interesting looking little thing, but again, nothing that's really shaking the ground or moving the needle for me. But anyway, Rob, you saw this leak thing. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, imagine if you were creating a trailer, like these are just teasers. You know, these are character teasers. And I really think that what's really important about these is, look, we didn't know that Steve Rogers was officially coming back. So if you're a Marvel fan, an MCU fan, it's pretty, like for me, I love Infinity War and Endgame so much that seeing Steve Rogers come back, and he's such the heart of these films. It was emotional for me. I was like, you know, okay. And seeing Thor come back from, I hated Love and Thunder. It's the tone of what they're setting up here. I mean, they're teeing up something here. And they're giving it out in drips and drabs, but I don't know what the third trailer is going to be. But for me, maybe it's Doctor Doom, because you have the three key. You would have, of course, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth coming back And that would make sense. You're seeing the 3 core Avengers team members, even though one of them is no longer Tony Stark, coming back. Maybe they're going to do something else like the Fox X-Men leading up to a true trailer. But I would imagine these longer scenes would not play in a 2-minute trailer. Most trailers are around 2 minutes long. Each one of these teasers is like a minute and a half, a little bit over a minute. They probably tried to build I still think they tried to probably build something around these moments. But so they just decided, let's release these. And they haven't said anything about it. They never made any kind of official announcement. They're just kind of dropping these things and letting the world devour them, however we're going to devour them, and putting them in front of. I mean, we've heard this, but there's not been an official announcement from Disney going, this is what we're going to do. And I think that we're going to finally, at the end of this, get a real teaser trailer where these are just moments. And I think mostly what they're doing is they're showing the tone of what we're going to get. This is not Love and Thunder. This is real, heartfelt families, legacies. This is important, man. And they're showing what these 3 men, because we've heard there's 4 trailers. I would assume there's a 3rd trailer with, if it's X-Men, maybe we'll get something. But I think these are showing that the stakes for this movie are epic. These men, whatever's happening, they're going to be fighting for their kids. They're going to be fighting so the stakes are high and they ain't playing. And I think that's what they're trying to establish. And I think we're so used to getting things. Look, there used to be teasers. Like the first movie I ever worked on, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, had a teaser trailer that was a riff on Excalibur. And it just showed the Lady of the Lake, instead of sticking Excalibur up out of the water, she put her hand up and she captured a chainsaw. And it said the Saw's family, Leatherface coming soon. It had nothing and no clips from the movie, nothing. But it was a dope trailer and people were talking, or teaser. It was hilarious that they were doing it. And I kind of see these as teasers that we haven't seen in a while, that are just trying to convey that Avengers Doomsday is coming in a year and the stakes are high. And your favorite characters, your favorite actors, they're coming back and they're here to play hard. So that's kind of how I see it, because a teaser takes you on a journey. A trailer takes you on a journey with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
These are more like, remember these guys? Remember how you loved these guys? And they're giving you a little, Thor. It's funny that they built this around Love and Thunder, because my hatred of that movie is well known, and I love Thor and I love the MCU, and they've actually made me want to go back and watch Love and Thunder again to see what he has at stake.
Well, you know what I really liked about this little tease thing? And really, somebody in the live chat, we've said this before, kind of nails it. These really aren't even teasers. They're just announcements.
Yeah.
But the thing that I kind of liked about this one is that, look, I loved Thor Ragnarok. I loved it. Chris Hemsworth has often said that Taika Waititi's slightly different take on Thor really reinvigorated him personally for playing Thor. And that movie is great. It's fantastic. But then they went a little bit too far with it with Thor Love and Thunder. But hearing Thor speak in this little teaser, you know what it reminds me of, Rob? It reminds me of the Kenneth Branagh Thor.
Right.
It reminds me of Thor from Thor 1, the one directed by Kenneth Branagh. And I love that. Again, I love Thor Ragnarok. I love that they changed him up.
Sure.
But now he's been a father. Now he's for a couple of years now, he's had a daughter, and that's going to change you. And I love that he's kind of reverting to more of his own father. He's speaking a little bit more like Odin himself. And I kind of, again, I'm gleaning a lot from a tiny little piece here, but I really did like that. I like seeing Thor constantly being in transition a little bit, that he changes a little here, he changed a little there. When different events happen in his life, it alters him and it changes him. And maybe being a father has kind of gravitated him to being more like his own father. But again, just the language, the way he spoke, it just reminded me a lot of the Branagh Thor.
Well, also, it sounds like he's asking for help.
Yeah.
He's like, grant me the serenity. it sounds to me like shit's going to go down. And he doesn't know if he can do it.
Oh, he's already he's talking about going into battle.
Yeah,
Like he's about to go into a fight that he's not sure he's going to be able to make it back to his daughter. And all he's asking Odin for is the ability to get back to his daughter. So something huge is about to happen.
Yes.
In this. So,
and that's what's exciting.
Anyway,
is that thing? I
don't know yet.
If there's this fourth trailer, we probably will get a taste of whatever huge thing is happening.
Something rather doomy. I'm assuming.
I
Anyway,
would assume so too.
guys, question is for you. What did you think about this little teaser? Again, I'm to be honest with you, a little underwhelmed with these things. Granted, but the movie is still a year away. I understand that, and they really are more announcements than trailers, but there were at least a couple little things in this Thor one that I kind of appreciated. Anyway, whatever you thought about it and whatever you gleaned from it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we are now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. And as I'm saying that, I'm turning off the super chats because we have an awful lot of them have already come in. So you're not going to be able to send any more, but we got to get over and start taking those questions. But before we do, we have to bid good afternoon to writer, director, producer extraordinaire, Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
All right, John, stay dry when this storm hits us.
Yeah, it is awfully gray outside right now. I got my
it's very ominous.
I got my solar batteries all ready to plug into the house in case the power goes out, so we're ready to go. All right, Rob, we'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Have a good one.
All right, see you later.
Robert Meyer Burnett, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get over to your questions. Keep the conversation going here. And we are going to start off today with, where's our first one? I believe our first one's from Reggie. And yes, it is. And Reggie Phoenix writes, do you think the animated Avatar, The Legend of Aang movie being moved from theatrical to streaming is a lack of faith or just a strategic move? Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Rob's theory is it might be a lack of faith in it. It might be that maybe the movie didn't turn out well, didn't measure up, maybe. But I would think they had a completed movie probably several months ago, probably like 5 or 6 months ago, they had a completed movie. They've known exactly what they have. And they've had plenty of time to make some changes and, try to correct maybe some of the larger problems with it to at least make it passable. So I'm thinking it is a strategic thing. I mean, Rob may be right. It may be a quality thing. I suspect differently. I suspect it's a strategic thing. So we will find out. Good question, man. All right, next up. Prady writes, once Netflix gets Warner Brothers, will they move away from Comic-Con and move everything over to Netflix's Tudum? Tudum is international. It will become bigger now. No, they won't, because they've been very clear that Warner Brothers is going to be a separate thing. Netflix's Tudum is about Netflix. And Netflix has been very, very clear. Ted Sarandos has been very clear that if and when they complete this transaction and they become the owners of Warner Brothers, he said very clearly, and we talked about this the other day, that the two bodies are going to operate independently of each other. Like, yes, Netflix will own Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers is going to run as its thing. Netflix is Netflix, Warner Brothers is Warner Brothers. And I'm sure once Netflix films or once Warner Brothers films finish their theatrical run, they'll be going to Netflix. But other than that, I think you're going to keep those things kept pretty separate, and Tudum will continue to just be about Netflix stuff, whereas Warner Brothers will continue to go to CinemaCon and Comic-Con and all that kind of stuff. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we got Mark, who writes, John and crew, thanks for another fun and informative year. Thank you for that. Hope you enjoy your favorite day of the year later this week. Yeah, Christmas is my favorite day of the year for a couple of reasons. I mean, Christmas is my absolute favorite day of the year for two different reasons. One, I always associate it with family. And unfortunately, my plans changed, and I'm not going to be with my family this year, but I'll catch up with them very soon. So I always associate Christmas with family. And the other is for religious reasons, because, I consider myself to be a person of faith, And so Christmas is a very spiritually meaningful time for me as well. So there's all that. All right. Next up, Amin writes, out on VOD today, Eternity and Sentimental Value. You know, I was talking on the show yesterday that I have not yet seen Sentimental Value. And I said, I really don't think I'm going to get a chance to watch it before the end of the year. But then I realized yesterday that, it's out on VOD. I need to try to get caught up on that one. So I'm going to give that a shot. All right. Next up, Orange Hand writes, how did Ereshkigal decide what the Eternals look like? I imagine him showing Salma Hayek's design to the other Celestials. Now hear me out, guys. Yeah, and here's the other thing. Why only have so many look, I very much liked Eternals. I think all the hate it gets is ridiculous. I think it's absolutely preposterous the hate this movie gets. Anyway, I thought it's a very well-made movie. I mean, it's not amongst my favorite of the MCU films, but I really enjoyed it. I know Rob liked it even more than I did. That said, as somebody who really liked the movie, I had some question marks coming out of it too. One of which is like the models, like why only so many models and why would you do this? And how come their memories do that? And wouldn't it be better if they operated like this? Anyway, I did have a lot of questions, and actually the whole thing about choosing what they looked like and all that kind of stuff, that was one of the questions I had as well. So you're not alone in that, my friend. All right, next up, Brendan writes, where'd we go? Oh yeah. How do you see the MCU rebooting looking like after Secret Wars? Are we talking full recast, or do you think it's more of a soft reboot? I just keep wondering how they'll try to make it fresh. Well, I guess I could take my headphones off now too. I think there's still a lot of question marks up in the air about, because look, it's important to note Kevin Feige never said it was rebooting after Secret Wars. Esposito never said it's rebooting after Secret Wars. Nobody at Disney has said that that the MCU is rebooting after Secret Wars. But that seems to be the common refrain amongst a lot of fans is, oh yeah, it's almost like it's common knowledge that they're going to be rebooting and whatever. I think the events of Secret Wars are definitely going to give them an opportunity to reset some things, but I don't think the word reboot is really going to come into it. And that's especially true if you know the story from the comic books, right? Like even the story in the comic book did not reboot the Marvel universe in the comics. What it did do was it eliminated a bunch of things and it allowed certain things to kind of reset. And there's a big difference between rebooting and resetting. And, you know, Kevin Feige has mentioned that this is going to be the end of the multiverse saga. And I think it's going to do exactly that. I think we're going to be getting rid of all the multiverse stuff. I think it's going to all get pared down into one reality. You know, depending on what the iteration of Battleworld is going to be like. And then that pared down one reality will then be birthed into the new universe, right? And so I think it's going to be just a matter of a reset of a few things, much like the way it was handled in the comics, but we will find out. Who knows? I'm not in Kevin Feige's office, but that's what I'm guessing right now. All right, Sveen writes, have you seen this new Saturday Night Live Home Alone skit with Ariana Grande as Kevin? One of the funniest things they've ever done, in my opinion. You know what's funny? I did not see it, but today going through my news feeds, that popped up. The Saturday Night Live sketch, how the Saturday Night Live sketch, the Home Alone sketch with Ariana Grande came together. That was in my news feed. And I'm like, I don't often see SNL skits in my news feed, but I didn't click on it and I didn't watch it. But now you're writing in about it, so it's got to be pretty funny. So I'm probably going to have to go and check it out once I'm done the show today. All right. Let's see here. Next up, Amin writes, which of these have you not seen yet, and are you planning to watch before you do your ranking? Jay Kelly, finally got around to that. Train Dreams, that one I have not seen. Begonia I have seen, and No Other Choice I have not. And I'm probably not going to get around to watching Train Dreams or No Other Choice. I'm probably not going to get around to those ones either. By the way, Jay Kelly, and neither Jay Kelly nor Begonia are going to end up in my top films of the year list. Not saying bad things about them. I'm just saying they're not going to end up on my top films of the year list, but that's, just me. All right. Kevin Irving sends in a $50 super chat. Kevin, thank you so much, man, for supporting us on that level, dude. That's incredibly generous of you. And Kevin writes, yesterday during the winners loser segment, I kept thinking of Mason Thames. That's a good one too, because he had both Black Phone 2 and he had the live action How to Train Your Dragon, which he was great in. Anyway, I kept thinking of Mason Thames being a total winner. Regretting You, How to Train Your Dragon, Black Phone 2, all major hits for him, and number one at the box office when they came out. Respectful. Happy holidays. You know what? I stand by my list. Maybe with Anaconda not looking so good, maybe I could have replaced Jack Black with Mason Thames. But you know what? That's a great pick. Because this has been a great year for him. You know what's funny? I'll tell you the story. So I'm going to see if I can pull up a picture of him here. So back when the first Black Phone came out, when the Black Phone first came out, we saw it at CinemaCon. So we were amongst the first people to see it, right? We might have been the first audience to see it. I'm not 100% sure, but we might have been. Anyway, I loved the first Black Phone. I was really floored by it. And this is back when I still had Twitter, before I got rid of Twitter. But I got on there and I talked about, oh my God, this movie Black Phone, guys, it's not on any of your radars, but keep your eyes open for it. It's a fun, great new horror film. Handsome Hawk is great in it. And these two kids are fantastic in it. The brother and sister, the brother being Mason Thames, said, these guys are fantastic. And this movie's really great. So I wrote that on my social media, and I wrote that in the theater as the movie ended. By the time I got back to my room, I had a DM from Mason who wrote to me and just said, thank you so much for the kind words. And I just thought that was, I just thought that was pretty cool, that I just saw this movie that I loved so much. And this kid who's the star of the film with Handsome Hawk wrote to me directly to say, thank you for the kind words and stuff like that. I just thought it was that. And I'm going to admit that kind of made me a fan of the kid, and I'm probably going to be a fan, but yeah, he was great. And oh my God, he was so good in How to Train Your Dragon. He was so good in that movie. Anyway, great pick, man. Excellent pick. All right. Next up, William Bangs writes, John, you probably mean Dio, when do Avatar, can I take John, when do Avatar, can I take, I'm sorry, William. You might have not been looking at your keyboard I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking, man. My apologies, William. I'm not quite really clear on what you're asking. Sorry about that, dude. David Cushmore writes, who do you think will win the college football playoff championship? Can Indiana win it all this year? Listen, when Indiana was playing the number one ranked team the other week, I said, guys, do not sleep on Indiana. They're for real. They're undefeated. Of course they have the ability to win it all. I'd be surprised if they don't win it all. Yeah, right now, Indiana's my pick. I think they're probably, out of the remaining teams, anything can happen on any given day, but I think Indiana's the team that's going to win. All right. Thomas writes, hey, John, happy holidays. Thank you so much. Do you think Disney bringing back Steve Rogers shows that they do not have faith in most of their new characters? Example, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Clea, Eternals. No, not at all. That's like saying, what's a good example of that? Bringing in your most popular character is a sign of great intelligence and foresight. It's not a negative commentary on the other characters you have. And I've been saying this for years, that if you're Marvel, you need to bring back Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. You have to. They are the heart and the soul. Listen, Iron Man and Captain America have been stalwarts in Marvel comic books for like 60 years. We've barely had these two on the big screen for over a decade. It was certainly far off from 2 decades. So if you're going into an Avengers movie, of course you bring back Steve, and of course you bring back Robert Downey Jr. And the argument I've been making for a while now is, at some point, you do need to move on into your next era. At some point you do. But my argument was that after Endgame, whether it was the death of Chadwick Boseman or some other factors, but they just never got a good kickoff to go into their next era. They just never did. And for those of you watching this, who've been watching the show for a while, you guys know I've been making the argument for a while that it just makes it even more vital to bring back your heart and soul of the MCU, to reground it, get it pointed in the right direction in order for you to move on, because you're not going to be able to move on without them. I know that sounds contradictory, but you're not going to be able to do the process of moving on from the era of Tony and Steve unless you bring back Tony and Steve to get into the right position to launch off from. I've been making that argument for a while. I stand by it. I think all these people, well, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. is desperation. Do you know what desperation means? Desperation means doing something really unadvisable because you have no other choice. Bringing back Robert Downey Jr. was brilliant and got a whole shit ton of people way more interested in this movie. Bringing back Chris Evans, who is the most important and the best character in all of the MCU for an Avengers movie, that's not a sign of a lack of faith in everything else. That's just a sign that you're using your brain and it's the right thing to do. So yes, I completely stand by it. I think they would have been absolutely foolish not to bring back Robert Downey Jr., not to bring back Chris Evans. Absolutely foolish. Would have been paramount of incompetence if they didn't do it. This was the smart move. This is the right move. People are talking about because these are their favorite characters, right? Like when they were bringing back Han Solo in Star Wars The Force Awakens, nobody went, oh, well, that's desperate. If anything, people got mad they didn't use Han Solo more. Nobody went, oh, that's desperate, bringing back. When are they going to move on? We've had Han and Luke for like 40 years. When are they going to move on? When they said that, when they showed that Mark Hamill was coming back, maybe not everybody loved the way they used him, but when they said, nobody went, oh, well, that's desperate, bringing back Mark Hamill. Must mean they have no faith in anything. No, of course not. It was just, that was the right move for them. To move the story forward, you got to have the core elements there that made it so beloved to be your starting point and to move on from. So yeah, I think just bringing them back was just a brilliant move. So we'll see how it works out. Maybe it won't work out so brilliantly, but we'll see how it does there, Thomas. Thanks for writing in, dude. Cassidy writes, do you think Marvel will ever make a Storm movie? Ever? Well, of course. Look, listen, this is a truism. Whenever you ask a question that has the word could or the word ever, the answer in the world of movies is always yes. Everything could happen, and eventually everything does. So yes, I don't think it's going to be in the next 5 years, but could they ever make a Storm movie? Sure, absolutely. Kindness is Punk Rock writes, thoughts on anime taking over comic book movies? Nah, not going to. It just doesn't have enough firm foundation in the North American audience. It's just not going to get there. It just not. Now, ask me again in 15 years, once entire generations change, maybe, but in the immediate future, it's just simply not. Storm Dragon writes, for the record, the OG Anaconda wasn't critically well received either. No, it wasn't. It's not a good movie. So maybe the new one can still be schlocky fun. Hope springs eternally. Look, I'm just going to hope when I go to see it tomorrow that because I'm particularly lean into the humor of Jack Black and Paul Rudd, and I'm hoping that maybe their humor is going to hit me in such a way that hits better than it did for a bunch of the other critics. So that's going to be, that's going to be my hope. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. All right. Shame Cat writes, I think it's appropriate that John is doing this worst list on Festivus, the day we air our grievances. Is that what today is? Is December 23rd Festivus? Festivus for the rest of us? God, I got to get ready for feats of strength. Feats of strength always come before the airing of the grievances. I got a lot of things to say about you people. For those of you who don't know, that's a Seinfeld thing. All right. Next up, Eric Wahlberg sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Eric, for supporting us on that level, man. Eric writes, hey, John, I know you're a gamer, so no doubt, well, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but so no doubt you heard about the passing of Vince Zampella. I worked with him back in the late 90s, and I want to let you and your viewers know he was more than just talented. He was a nice man. Now, is this the gentleman who made, guys in the live chat, help me out here. Is this the gentleman who made Call of Duty? Because I remember somebody wrote in yesterday and said that the creator of Call of Duty, a game I honestly have never played. I played a lot of first-person shooters, but I never did play Call of Duty. Yeah, the creator of Call of Duty. Listen, one thing, he did something in life that most people can only hope for and dream of, which is he made something that had made a real impact. Call of Duty is a pop cultural, like beacon. I mean, everybody knows Call of Duty. And so I was really sorry to hear about his passing. I didn't know anything about the man personally, honestly, but I mean, you ask anybody, even people who don't play games, they've all heard of Call of Duty, and this guy made an imprint and made an impact with his life. All right. Thanks for that, Eric. Next up, Keaton Habeck writes, Star Wars and Andor definitely was a winner of 2025. I'm literally wearing my Andor shirt. That's true too. Andor was a definite, much needed win for the world of Star Wars. It really was. It's simply the best Star Wars thing ever made, ever since, the original trilogy. Take out the original trilogy. Andor, I stand by this, is the greatest Star Wars thing ever made. Like, it's not even close. And there are some other Star Wars things I really like. I really like The Force Awakens. I really liked Rogue One. But Andor is so far and away the best Star Wars thing ever made outside of the original trilogy. So it really was a big win for them. The problem is Star Wars doesn't need a win right now. Star Wars is in a place that it needs some sustained wins. It needs a winning streak. Star Wars has just gotten itself into a position that it doesn't just need a win. It needs a winning streak. So Andor, fabulous. But let's see how they follow it up, because that's going to be really important. All right. Next up, Bobby Jackson writes, John, what determines whether you still choose to watch a movie despite bad reviews? I know you've skipped some you were excited for, yet still seen others, even when reviews weren't great. I think it's a matter of, okay, so just to give you some context, I was still working at AMC when I finally gave myself permission to not have to watch every single movie. I don't have to watch every single movie. I remember I was watching one of my favorite sportscasters, Tony Kornheiser, from Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. And I remember him say, this is years and years and years ago. He said, I give myself permission to not watch every single game that's on. I don't need to watch every single game. And it was funny because at that time, I was still of the mindset that I needed to watch every single movie. So I was literally in the movie theaters like way too much. And so I finally gave myself permission that I don't have to see everything. And so I don't. Now, there are some movies that I have some enthusiasm for that I hear some really negative things about, and so I decide not to go see it. And then some that I hear some negative things about, but I still do. I think the dividing line, the thing that determines when I decide to still see it or when I decide not to, is when there's a movie I'm excited about, but I know there's many ways it could go wrong, and then I hear from people I trust that it went wrong in that way, then I'm like, then I don't want to go and have my heart broken. But then there's something like Anaconda, where I'm hearing from all these people that it's not good. But the thing is, Jack Black and Paul Rudd's, their humor seems to be effective on me more than most people. So even though those people didn't like it, I still believe there's a lot of stuff there that I might enjoy. Like I might end up hating it, and which could happen. But I also think the potential's still there, like I still like it. So I think that's what it comes down to. After I hear everything that I'm going to hear, do I still think there's potential that I'm going to like this regardless? And when that's the case, like in the case of Anaconda, I still go to see it. And when I don't have a lot of hope that there's still good potential that I might enjoy it despite the criticisms, then sometimes I'll take a pass. But I often still go to see movies that I know are terrible anyway. So yeah, it's not real consistent. All right. Thanks for that, Bobby. Next up, David Cushmore writes, are you going to watch NFL on Netflix on Christmas Day? I absolutely am. Are you going to watch the NBA on Christmas Day as well too? I absolutely am. 3 games from the NFL and 5 games from the NBA. I'm not going to watch all the NBA ones. I'll probably just watch the Laker game. I mean, you know, living out here and my wife being the lifelong fanatical LA Laker fan that she is, we'll always watch the Laker game. So I'm definitely going to try to watch all of the football games. And then around that, I'll try to watch the Laker game. I probably won't watch the other games, but I will watch the NFL games. 100% for sure. All right. Space Trips writes, hey, John, what could Star Wars learn from Dune 1 and 2? Nothing. They're 2 completely different types of movies. They're 2 completely different types of stories. And you say Star Wars as if Star Wars is one writer and one director. Star Wars, any Star Wars movies need the same things that every other kind of movie needs. You need a solid story. You need compelling characters. You need good dialogue. In the case of Star Wars, you need to create senses of awe and wonder. And none of that is just to be, I mean, you can look at Dune 1 and 2, but you can also look at, War Horse, or you could also look at, Anora, or you could also look at any other number of films to realize we need solid stories, good, compelling characters that are interesting, good dialogue in the sense of Star Wars, again, a sense of awe and wonder and adventure. So, but none of that comes specifically from Dune 1 and 2. Look, I say this all the time. We as people are always looking for formulas. We all do it. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. We always look for formulas. But at the end of the day, say, these movies would be better if they did this formula. No, the movies would just be better if they were better. If it was better written, if it had better characters, if it had a cleaner narrative flow. I don't care that they use this villain instead of that villain. That wasn't going to fix it. A bad movie wasn't suddenly going to be a good movie if you did. It's not about form. It's just about making good films. And I think they just need to do a better job, because Kathleen Kennedy has really dropped the ball on this, on getting the right filmmakers and right story writers in place before you start a project, because then it has, look what happened when Tony Gilroy was handed the keys to Andor. You have the greatest Star Wars thing ever made since the original trilogy. And you know what? I got a lot of faith in Starfighter. I do. I have a lot of faith in Starfighter, but it's just about making better films, man. It's not about gleaning a lesson from this or that. Anyway, thanks for writing that in, Space Trips. Solitary writes, biggest concerns heading into Avengers Doomsday. Biggest concerns. It's so hard. Okay. Here's my number one concern. And this was the concern before seeing the Steve Rogers trailer or seeing the Thor trailer or anything like that. If you know the story of Secret Wars, but John, we're talking about Doomsday. Yes, but Doomsday is being done to lead into Secret Wars. So I'm looking at it as kind of one big thing. It is very, very, very inside baseball. And what I fear a little bit is when the movies get too comic booky, you can lose the general audience. And in the early, like phases 1, 2, 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they always found a way to take very comic booky concepts and make them just feel like normal modern day movie storytelling habits. And they just made it feel accessible to people who have never picked up a comic book in their life. Now, remember, probably 80% of the audiences that went to phases 1, 2, and 3 of Marvel are people who never picked up a comic book. You've got to make sure the movies appeal to these people as well. My fear about Secret Wars is, man, that is as comic booky as you get, man, with the whole environment, the context of Secret Wars and Battle World and multiple dimensions and all these versions and blah, blah, blah. And my one worry is that they don't tell it in such a way that somebody who's not into comic book tropes will be able to latch onto it and not be alienated by it. And that's my fear. My fear is a project of the scale of Secret Wars, and by extension, Doomsday that comes before it, is that they make them in such a way that just all the nerds and geeks will get it, but it'll alienate the general audience who made up 80% of the crowds and went to go see the Marvel films. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. You're asking me what would be my biggest fear? That's my biggest fear. That they just focus on the nerds like us and alienate the average film goers who don't get a lot of the other concepts. So that would be my fear. It's my worry. It's the thing I think they need to make sure they try to avoid. So we'll see how it works out. But they did a good job with it before, so I have no reason to doubt that they can do it again. All right, Christopher Brickner writes, happy holidays. Thank you so much. I spent the week before Christmas how most want to spend it, being horribly sick. I'm mostly better. Hopefully I'm better by Christmas. You know, that's the thing though, man. Like, the thing is, around Christmas, that's when the weather really starts to change. And so it's not a coincidence that a lot of people start to get sick around Christmas, because that's when the weather starts to get more moisture in the air, more moisture, more precipitation. The weather, on top of that, the weather starts to get colder. You got these environmental changes, and a lot of people get sick. So take care of, and then people are getting together. Sick people are getting together with other people, and the sickness continues to spread. But I hope you feel better, Christopher. All right. Next up, Cassidy writes, that Marvel Captain America trailer was boring. I'm so sorry. Yeah, listen, I was underwhelmed by it. Listen, I love the fact that Steve Rogers is coming back. Love it. It's great. But you probably could have presented that in a more compelling way. So it is what it is. The movie's still a year away. It's whatever. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I was just underwhelmed by it. That's all. All right. Haroon writes, Marcus and McFeely are an underrated part of the Feige-Russo magic formula, in my opinion. Wiki says Marcus is not involved on Doomsday Thoughts. Oh yeah, we've talked about that ad length months and months and months and months ago, that only one of the two writers are coming back. And that's perfectly fine. Listen, the writers always wrote under the direction of Feige and the Russo brothers. But they're very good. They're very gifted. They have a shorthand. But, you know, it's just one of them coming back. I think they'll be fine. I'm not really concerned about it terribly much. Now, if neither of them was there, I'd raise an eyebrow a bit. But it's still the guy who was there before. I really think it's a non-issue. I really do. I think it's a non-issue, but we'll find out once we see it. All right. Thanks for that, Haroon. Al writes, my 7 worst. 7, Wolfman. Yeah, that didn't turn out to be as good as hoping. 6, Lilo and Stitch. I liked Lilo and Stitch. I didn't think it was great, but I enjoyed it. I walked out with a smile on my heart. 5, Flight Risk. Yep, not so great. 4, War of the Worlds. Yep. Nick Cage's Gunslingers. Didn't see it. Popeye the Slayer Man. Obviously, I never saw that. And number 1, Tom Hardy's Havoc. Yep. That was one, I wouldn't put that one at number 1. I wouldn't have it in my top 5, but if I was doing a top 10, that would also be on my list, Al. Havoc probably would be on my list. All right. E. Groomy writes, Dan Merle gave an interesting statistic. None of James Cameron movies made less than 5 times their opening weekend. By that logic, Avatar 3 can hope to end up with $450 million domestically. I mean, listen, if the problem with that is, and I'm sure this is not what Dan was trying to say. Dan was giving an example of things that have happened historically, but as any stock market expert will tell you, historical results do not necessarily guarantee or mean future development. This stock has gone up 20 weeks in a row. Okay, but that's great. That doesn't mean it's going to continue to go up. All those numbers happened in their own individual context, right? With their own individual set of circumstances. Things are different today. All right? Things are different today. There are fewer people going to the movie theaters now than they used to. And so I don't think we can. And look, I still think Avatar movies have legs, man. I still think it's going to do very well. But with an $88 million opening, I don't know. And I hope to come back and revisit this and find out that I'm wrong. It would be awesome. But I don't think it's a realistic thing to think that Avatar 3 is going to make 450 domestically. And just because something has happened historically does not mean that's what's going to repeat now, because this is a different set of circumstances that we're in today than in those other movies. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. David Cushmore writes, do you think the Bears going to the Super Bowl? No. But I think they've got Super Bowls in their future. I really do. I think they got Super Bowls in their future. All right. Johnny Corey writes, hey, John, I love the show. You guys are great. Thank you so much. I want to start a movie blog. I was wondering if you have any advice for a successful movie blog looks like. The best thing I can do is tell you I've made a video about this. It's an older one now, but it's all philosophies and principles that still are the ones I would give today. Go on YouTube and search for John Campea Getting Started. And I think I put up like a 2-hour video running through getting started with blogging, podcasting, YouTubing, whatever. So again, just search for John Campea Getting Started. It should be the first thing that comes up. Actually, let me see if I can pull something up here. Let's go John Campea Getting Started. Okay, so let me see if I can find this here. Okay, so a couple of the results you'll find will be here, like how to YouTube with John Campea. That one's from 4 years ago. This one's from 11 years ago, but I still stand by getting started in online film talk on your blog, YouTube channel, or podcast. So that video is like from 11 years ago, but it still holds like all the advice that I would give today. So that is my recommendation, to just go and look up that, and that'll give you all the advice that I have to give. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Ibsy writes, this Doomsday marketing seems to be very unique, and when it all comes together, I have a feeling it might be one of, or maybe the greatest marketing push for a movie ever. Also, Merry Christmas, John. Well, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too. I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't think it's off to a good start. Now, granted, they shouldn't have even started the marketing yet. I mean, the movie's still a year away, but they decided to try something. I can appreciate that. I just found the Steve Rogers thing a bit underwhelming. I think the Thor thing is interesting, but I don't know. I always just come back to this. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And I just thought, you don't have to give a story. You don't have to give anything away. I just thought for your first thing that you're putting out, whether you're putting it out a year in advance or 7 months in advance or whatever, something that has some punch, something that has some impact, you know? And I just don't think this Steve Rogers thing or this Thor thing have that punch or have that impact. And you don't get a second chance for that first impression. Now, look, I'm sure they're going to put out some great trailers as we move through the months towards Doomsday coming out. But I'm not ready to say that I think it's going to be the greatest marketing campaign ever. But hopefully they do. All right. Seconds from Disaster says, I did want Paramount to win, and Netflix was the worst choice. Now it feels like Paramount just wants a player off the board, and Netflix wants the value. Yeah, listen, Netflix has been very clear. We want the value. We think Warner Brothers is a valuable business. We think they offer us two businesses that we're not involved in right now. They represent no overlap to us. It gives us an opportunity to really get into something that we can't do ourselves. It sounds really promising. Paramount, I don't know what they're doing. I just don't know what they're doing anymore. So, all right. Thanks for that. Seconds from Disaster. CB the Legend writes, third trailer is Cyclops and Baby Cable. No. No, I don't think cable's going to be part of it at all. Now, the third one could be X-Men, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more close to home. They seem to be going the nostalgia route, and there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. Nostalgic is like any other tool. It can be used well, it can be used badly. But I think they're going to continue on the nostalgia route, and I think it's going to be something more core MCU, the third one, but we'll find out. We're only a couple of weeks away from finding out. And our final question today comes to us from, because I turned off the super chats before we started the super chats. Arturo writes, check this out. Third Doomsday teaser starts with a hammer clinging Tony's back with some sort of narration, and it ends with actually Victor hammering his Doom mask for the reveal. Maybe. I theorized a while ago. Now, this is when I theorized a bunch of other things, and all those other things were totally wrong. So take that with a grain of salt. I theorized that the third trailer, I said, once we knew that the first one was Steve, I theorized that the second one would be Thor, and it was, and that the third one would be Doom. So maybe that could work, but we'll see. It's hard because I know some things, and it's always tricky when I know some things about a movie and I'm talking about speculating about the movie to make sure I don't cross the line in my speculations about what I give away, about what I know and what I don't know, because I could get into some trouble. Anyway, there's that. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget, tomorrow is Christmas Eve, but we're doing a show tomorrow anyway. And part of our show tomorrow is counting down our most anticipated films of 2026. That's going to be part of it. We're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about too, taking your live questions some more. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.